Hello and welcome to the weekly Chris Chan update. Before we start this episode, I have to give context to some things Chris is going to tweet about later. So we have to start with a YouTuber named ContraPoints. I have never watched any of her videos before now, but let's just say that she has a certain style that I imagine would alienate new or unfamiliar viewers. On May 10th, she put out a video titled Cringe. It's about 90 minutes long, and the middle third is dedicated to discussing Chris. This isn't some attack video where she brings up Chris's cringiest moments Leafy style and mocks him. It's actually quite the opposite. She delves deep into the phenomenon of cringe and ponders why people follow Chris. If you look into her comment section, and there's about 17,500 comments as I'm recording this, many people are saying that they've never heard of Chris and are shocked to hear these things about him from her video. While ContraPoints never outright lies about Chris or the Chris phenomenon, she leaves out so many details and frames things in such an ambiguous way that it might as well be an outright lie. She asserts that people follow Chris, who she makes sure to let everybody know is autistic and therefore can't be held responsible for his own actions, to make themselves feel better about their own lives. They join in on bullying and trolling him so that they can tell themselves, hey, at least I'm not Chris. This is obviously false to anybody who spends any time in our community, and also historically ignorant to the fact that the era of Chris getting trolled and the modern era of merely observing Chris are different. She mentions Kiwi Farms as the headquarters of people trolling Chris, but she does not mention that in modern times, Kiwi Farms have become Chris's biggest defenders and have saved him from the Idea Guys and the Teen Troon Squad. She just does not mention this point in history and paints people who nowadays aren't doing much wrong as the villains. She makes it seem like the Quickie was the effort of obsessed, that's the word she uses, obsessed, individuals who want to catalog everything Chris does. This is just not what it is. It's a wiki, and wikis are contributed to by hundreds of people, and the Quickie's been active for over a decade. She brings up trolls and A-logs, and her example of one isn't someone like Jacob Sockness or the Teen Troon Squad or the Idea Guys or Clyde Cash. It's GenoSamuel. GenoSamuel, the most milquetoast guy of all time, who has the most neutral stance on Chris ever, and who Chris actually likes and recommends to his followers. She also mentions Blue Spike, but she blames the cult of trolls for manipulating him into bullying Chris because Blue Spike was only 13. This is completely contrary to the audio evidence we have of the other trolls reprimanding Blue Spike for going too far. Reading her comment section is a nightmare. People are acting with fake hysteria that they are so upset about hearing these stories about Chris, even though she barely scratches the iceberg of the most disturbing stories. Ironically, it is their virtue signaling that they aren't as bad as those malicious trolls that is exactly the kind of "at least I'm not them" attitude that ContraPoints is criticizing. Nobody that I've ever spoken to watches Chris because they want to feel better about themselves. I have said openly on my channel that I personally watch him, firstly out of curiosity because I study human psychology, but also because I think he's an example of how not to act. His reaction to the trolls is what not to do. His reactions to the hardships of life is what not to do. You need heroes and role models in your life, and you also need counter examples, or ContraPoints, of what not to do, and Chris is the latter. ContraPoints claims she spoke to a Christorian about Chris before making her video. If this is true, she would not have made so many countless errors in her video, and we would also probably know about it. She does not say who she spoke to. It wasn't me, it wasn't Geno, or Dylan, or Noel. There are obviously Christorians who have been doing it for longer than us and who don't have YouTube channels and just post to the Quickie and the Kiwi Farms and stuff. But they aren't in tune with the wider Chris Chan phenomenon. They don't know the people who just kind of observe Chris from a distance, who watch these kind of videos but aren't in on the daily Chris Chan stuff. For most of us, Chris is just like any other celebrity or historical person of interest. The only difference is that he's still alive. Chris wrote a comic book and got famous for it, and I really don't see how that's different than literally any other famous artist. I'm not trying to grandstand here for myself, I just know that ContraPoints followers, all 900,000 of them, have been harassing Geno on Twitter and YouTube, and he had to lock his Discord to prevent them from swarming it. There are currently people trying to get his YouTube channel deleted and his Patreon removed for abusing an autistic person. I can honestly say that I have not seen something as stupid as this tweet since the last time Jacob Sockness drunkenly DM'd me at 3 in the morning. I've gotten some annoying Twitter messages from her followers too, and it just astounds me that ContraPoints still has her video up. I am wholly in the camp that you are not responsible for what your audience does. I am not saying that she advocated for her followers to attack Geno, but she is responsible for being so negligent that she put out what is essentially misinformation that hurt the reputation of other people who are now unfairly receiving flack. And she is responsible for not deleting the video and uploading a correction. How someone can bring up Chris Chan and mention his bad trolls and stalkers, and villainize GenoSamuel, but not Jacob Sockness, and then defend Blue Spike, is beyond any sort of logical comprehension. Nobody here is obsessed with Chris. He is an oddity. People watch him like a TV show, like how people watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or, I don't know, who's a famous blogger? Does Casey Neistat vlog? Probably, someone like him. And I make videos on him because you guys want to keep up with Chris too. But you don't want to read all of his tweets and keep track of him. So you come to me for digestible summaries, and also probably to hear my reaction because it's funny sometimes to hear me get annoyed. If someone's going to sit so far up on their high horse that they look down on people who think it's interesting and morbidly funny to watch someone who self-proclaims himself to be God preach about merging into a dimension with Sonic the Hedgehog, then I really don't care about that person's opinion. The problem is, ContraPoints viewers don't know how ridiculous she's being because she irresponsibly did not give them all of the information. This is all going to be very important this week because Chris chimes in on the matter on his Twitter, but there's a few tweets from him that we have to get to before that point, so let's start on Mother's Day. Chris Chan is still being possessed by Sonichu. He says, "Hey y'all, just a friendly happy Mother's Day, Rose. Greeting to all the women who are mothers, moms, and simple parents, guiding their biological or adopted, or whatever the sitch, children, teens, or adults." It seems like he really could have just written mothers there. I'm not sure what the difference between mothers and moms is. Me, personally, I can recall the days with my mother and father, back in that old field in Rhode Island. Such simple times in the days I was a wild Pichu, then Pikachu after evolving. My mother was simple, kind, and nurturing, and continued to work hard as she did, and my father kept collecting food for us, and keeping us safe as I grew up and lived. I was really saddened when both of them had fallen during that fateful day on February 1st, 2003, when they and a flock of Pikachus were ravaged by the Team Rocket grunts, and all that. Still, good times with my parents. Meanwhile, Rosie, back in her Pichu days, had a few weeks with her father, Luxray, and her mother, Raichu. She enjoyed her simple times as best as she was able to. Then a trainer caught her in a Pokeball and sent her to Professor Oak, or whichever professor he was in the U.S.'s region in Virginia. I thought her master was Kel. This was south of Quickville, but that Raichu, alongside Luxray, who Mama later dubbed the nickname John, they both kept watch over Rosie over the years as she and Kel, of them traveled around to get their first set of badges, watching their little Pichu work hard for and with Kel, evolving and growing up. Rosie's mom had become ill some time ago, though. John did his best for her, but she was stricken and overcome. John, still, was ever adamant and motivated from that trauma. John is still alive today, and he still remembers his beloved Raichu partner, and continues to do his best for us and for her. Another good and caring mother. So yeah, happy Mother's Day to all mothers, be they human or animal. Hey, what about Barb, though? As for Barbara, mother of Chris Chan Sonichu, she is very good and awesome in her own rights. I mean, Mama has previously praised and spoken well of her. I, personally, am unable to say much, except that Barbara did and does her best for her, and me, here, while I'm in this body. Sonichu's been living in Chris's body for like 3 weeks. You'd think that he'd be able to say something about the quality of Barbara's parents, unless he's hiding something from us. Thanks, Barbara, for being the mother of Chris Chan in 1218 here. I am glad to know her as much and well as I do. That's the most psychotic Mother's Day message I've ever heard a son give. Sad that Chris is missing Mother's Day. Christine is not missing it. We have Mother's Day in C197, with the other bunch of holidays that you all have here. I think that misses the point that Chris isn't with his mom on Mother's Day. Okay, so this is from BabsCon. That's the brony convention that Chris wanted to go to, but was cancelled because of COVID. And that's wrapped for the first ever BabsCon Online. Or BabsConline. It's too good of a pun for me to pronounce. I can't even do it. Thank you to all of our staff, musicians, both main stage and Renegade, guests of honor, panelists, and of course, our attendees. You guys all made this thing awesome, and we would love to be able to do it again in the future. And so of course, Chris has to give his 2 cents. Personally, I'll settle and want better of the offline convention, where we all actually get together, instead of lingering behind closed monitors. But for now, it was what it was. Thanks for the attempt and hard work on the online aspect. It's like you don't realize there is a pandemic going on. It was a good attempt, though, you know, but he's not going to settle for it. Alright, so here we go. This is what links back to the ContraPoint thing from earlier. At Patreon, why are you allowing a bully to collect money to make videos that reinforce the bullying of an autistic person on YouTube? This Patreon user, GenoSamuel, makes videos making fun of a YouTube content creator. Geno uses your platform to raise money to help him to this. Here is Geno's YouTube channel, if you need an explanation of what Geno is doing, and then he links to the ContraPoints video that's full of lies and misinformation. And then he adds GenoSamuel. This is me being transparent and asking Patreon to ban you from their site. Disgusting what you are doing. I hope you have a real job. And then here's Geno's response. You should consider actually watching it and understand my viewpoint. I am not encouraging bullying at all, and specifically state so in a disclaimer at the start of each video. I present the info neutrally and take no side, letting my viewers think for themselves. I've also been in contact with Christine, who had nice things to say about me, and regularly still watches the videos. To think that ContraPoints compared me to an A-log is disingenuous and wholly inaccurate. That was very well put. So in ContraPoints video, she also mentioned that GenoSamuel's documentary is eventually going to be 100 episodes long. This is based on absolutely nothing, and Geno has come out and said that that's not the plan, and so he has absolutely no idea where Contra got that information from. Not like she actually did any research on anything else, but there you go. So this person makes a joke and says, on the bright side, I just found out that there are going to be 100 episodes of Chris Chan documentaries. So this is making fun of ContraPoints. And Chris responds, is there enough video content to even constitute 100 episodes? So Chris is obviously aware of the entire situation. And GenoSamuel responds not to Chris, but to this original person saying, lol, who told her being ContraPoints that? So underneath Chris's Mother's Day posts and stuff, people are just talking about Chris, and there's this guy. This guy says, Chris has literally no empathy, only cares for himself, etc. Also, I refuse to call Chris a she. The dude ain't trans. The guy did it to get women, then he went full bonkers by the idea, guys. Chris says, hello, punk. Why is your last name Cyborg? And then he has 2 images of himself. Hello, Ian. Why is your last name Brandon Anderson? So Chris just posted a meme of himself that's not in the context of what's happening in the conversation. I don't get why he's so mad about his name being Cyborg. I'm not following Chris's logic, and that's not unusual. People are questioning the merge and whether or not Chris actually believes that it's going to happen, and this is Sonichu, I'm so sorry. Sonichu responds, the merge is happening, and Chris believes in it highly. The sorting out was required in order to keep the worldwide population post-merge on an equal footing. Sort of like equivalent exchange or something like that, okay? So this sorting out that Sonichu here is referring to is Chris's Chris's declaration that COVID-19 is the universe weeding out the weak from Earth so that the merge can happen. It's a common trend on Twitter for someone to post a picture of something and say, what is this? Wrong answers only, because it's a funny meme. Wacky, wavy, inflatable arm flailing to pineapples. The first part, this is a Family Guy reference, and then this is part of Chris's random access humor. He thinks that being random is funny, so instead of saying wacky arm inflatable man, he says pineapple. Okay, so the guy who drew this image that all this conversation has been going on under for a while, discussing whether or not Chris has empathy and all that stuff, posting about how he thinks that COVID is just weeding out the weak, etc. That was made by a Twitter user named Protoman00, and his is milk_cookie16. So Chris did not take kindly to the things that he was saying. Chris is now posting as Mewtwo, and he has this image from Pokemon Go, and he thinks that now that Mewtwo's talking, he's going to be taken very seriously. Enough, Milk and Cookie 16. Your words against Christine and Sonichu really offend me now. You dare question her own context and morals in such callous ways. I will have you and everyone else know that in the past, Christine was wanting to see what you call tangible evidence of the events of the dimensional merge, as they have and continue to progress as we speak. She used to be in question of her own powers and abilities and role as a goddess, but no more. Christine has personally experienced, witnessed, and felt the events, as well as additional moments that proved our point more than once with her. Among which the body swaps between her and Magi-chan, and over a month ago, the body swap between her and Sonichu. And even more so now, in a future event for her own body and Sonichu's soul, Christine is now literally and fully in C-197, working even more hard and diligently with the other deities and her family, friends, and allies, there's been no doubt in her mind about anything with the merge for a long time now. We all know fully well the costs in bringing the populations of the two dimensions together, sacrificing a number of lives in the 1218 so they can continue living on in the bodies of their self-counterparts in C-197, and the few of vice versa. What? And the few of vice versa? Does that mean does that mean fictional characters are going to embody their creators? That's weird. Anyway, so yeah, Mewtwo's just talking in Chris's mannerisms. I would just think that Mewtwo, wouldn't talk in run-on sentences, but apparently he does. Christine has had it rough in her development during the first decade of the millennium. She was still finding herself and us. She is never again to be judged by the past actions that have been brought upon you all with the abuse and help from the spiteful, hating trolls and bullies of 1218 and C-197. Christine has grown and developed exponentially and well. You all who speak against her, in your own lust for contempt that drives your hormones. What? We're speaking against, we meaning all of us, all the trolls, are speaking against Chris because we have lust. And lust? We lust after our own contempt for what drives our hormones. I think that's what he means. And that still doesn't make any sense. Or just a point, or just to make a point or argument, you all do not know her better at all, and continuing to judge her out of context content, and continuing to judge her on out-of-context content from miscontent brought on by the haters' influences from the past. You all sicken Magi-chan, myself, and all the other deities and psychics who personally know better of her. Christine's and Sonichu's present situations and actions are very much real and true. They would not lie anymore, because there is no point in lying in these days, during these times and situations between our dimensions in this timeline. Never speak against Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu ever again, or I shall see to your appropriate torment and punishment myself. Farewell, angry emoji. So yeah, because people get mad a lot when Chris goes after the trolls or makes threats, but you know, if it's Mewtwo who's making the threats on behalf of Chris, I'm sure that Chris will think that that's fine. So basically, this Milk and Cookies guy is trying to find evidence that Chris doesn't actually believe in the merge, by saying like, oh, if Chris actually believed in the merge, he wouldn't be saying and doing these things. And so Mewtwo here is telling us that Chris must actually believe in the merge, because he knows that the merge is real, because if the merge wasn't real, how would Sonichu be possessing his body right now? It all just adds up, guys. Just believe everything Mewtwo says. And then after that tantrum, we just get Chris talking about his card game again. Hey everyone, here you are, the presently complete set of Sonichu Twilight Sparkle Secret Chip Pick folder cards from Chris Chan Sonichu herself. I've gotten really good at saying this. Twilight Sparkle Secret Chip Pick, just Twilight Sparkle, of course now I can't do it. Complete with all 11 start cards autographed. More than 70% of the profits will be distributed amongst the Brony artists and vendors. Don't fall for that, because now we know for 100% certainty that when Chris says that 75% of the profits, then when Chris says 70% of the profits will be distributed amongst the Brony artists and vendors, he does not mean he's going to donate to them. He means he's going to spend it on their merchandise, which he probably was going to do anyway. This is a scam. Complete set of Sonichu Twilight Sparkle Secret Chip Pick folder cards, featuring autographed start cards. $550. That's actually hilarious. Now it's Sonichu talking. Hey everyone, I finally received the set of our Twilight Sparkle Secret Ship Fic folder cards, deck, expansion packs, and promos. I will be setting up the one-time listing on Quickville Shopping later, but it does include all the autographed start cards. 70% of the profits will go to the Brony artists. Has the virus delayed shipping of those? Yes, in part. That is why they were delayed. In a more cool timing, I could have offered them at the same time as the autographed books and the bag, but that didn't happen. Keep in mind, it has been 35 days since Chris last begged for money. It has been 228 days since Chris last uploaded pages to meet his paid obligations to the Sonichu comic, and it has been 3,889 days since Chris last applied for a job, so do not give him money. Rosie and I are checking out Jerry Seinfeld's 23 Hours to Kill special on Netflix. So Sonichu and Chris's body and Rose Chu, who's still in the other dimension, are watching Netflix at the same time? Maybe you could make it a double feature and do B-movie after. Quote, perhaps. I don't know what that means. But I didn't think of it. Plus, is B on Netflix? What is the deal with watching an animated movie featuring the comedian you just watched in a special right after that special? I read it that way because that's how Jerry Seinfeld would read it. Thanks for the laughs, Jerry. Perhaps you and Mama Christine can get a coffee sometime. Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Chan. Oh man. Oh man. Oh, I get it. The perhaps is in quotes because in this gif, Jerry is saying perhaps. I think that's what he means by that. Chris then posted his reaction vid to the Team Fortress 2 Brony Analyst Anarchy thing. I'm gonna do that at the end of the video. I've been talking about how Chris hasn't been doing that weekly like he said he would, and that's because the newest video took a month to come out. But Chris still shouldn't have promised to do it weekly. Just sharing this lovely piece from MKR. I've commented in that nowadays, Mama has so much more of that goddess presence that she looks in similar style with a Disney princess. Closest in looks and personality with Belle. This just makes Rosie and me smile, thanks MKR. Chris thinks he looks like a Disney princess. It's been a while since Chris has made me... It's been a while since Chris has made me just completely break down like that. And now it's happened twice this video. These are interesting times. And Chris's now most recent tweet. Come meditate with open minds, souls, and hearts, along with the rest of the world on Thursday the 21st. Learn more. May Day Universal Meditation Event. So on this day, Sonichu, because remember this is not Chris, is going to be meditating. And maybe we can all meditate along with her. Speaking of doing things along with other people, segue to Chris reacting to the bronies. Let's go.
Hey everybody, this is Sonichu Live coming from his house once again.
Sonichu Live. He can't even remember his own intro.
She's upstairs. Barbara is upstairs, okay?
And thankfully we can now confirm that Barb is alive because Chris said so.
I'm just trolling the comments. Yeah, well, you're too loud.
Someone tried to give Chris actual advice about the stream, telling him that his mic was too loud, and his response is, "You're too loud." Anyone who's here from the ContraPoints video who doesn't think Chris is, and always has been, an egotistical, abrasive fool, here is your evidence. So Chris is answering questions in the chat without reading them out loud, so we can only kind of guess what they say, but I think his response here speaks for itself.
It's in progress! The merge continues to be in progress!
Wow, Sonichu, why are you so upset?
Didn't you used to work for us?
Yes, he did!
Indeed. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I killed one of your best co-workers and I want to say... Billy?
His name's not BillyWitchDoctor.com!
You want from us?
Chris is what I imagine the people making Dora the Explorer imagined the kids watching their show at home would be like.
I mean, somebody's got to pay for this flopping movie to happen. Especially since YouTube's monetization system is broken.
Yes, it is!
I'm glad that Chris agrees with Where's the Fair Use. Come on, Chris, you must want my video to go back up.
Yeah, not only do we get to be on Brony's React, we also get to show off our mercenary skills on an actual job.
Just think of the merchandising!
Shirts! Cookies! Bronies!
Chris appears to have subtitles on and is reading along with the video. I don't know if he's naming everything on screen for the sake of the audience, or if this is how he actually watches all shows.
There you go, live reaction from the laptop. This laptop, first time. So, thank you all for watching, and zap it up and stay safe.
Chris finishes the video and can't think of anything else to say, so he just ends the live stream. I don't know why he live streams his reactions if he's not going to interact with the audience instead of just making a video and uploading that later, because this leads to things going wrong, like last time when people ordered pizzas to his house. Thanks for watching. If you want to do more of the watching, make sure to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin, and make sure to look out for more Chris Chan weekly updates.